the greatest problem is still the human ego, which is the me, I know what's best for everyone, and what's best for me is what's best for everyone.
Mm.
Which I originally labeled as narcissism. But in my studies, because I wanted to learn a bit more about this, and in my studies over the last few months, I started to read less about narcissism and more about schizophrenia. And all of these psychological elements, we all have some personal contact with them. None of us escape these things. None of us escape emotions. None of us escape feelings that we have. None of us escape sickness and illness and disease and all these things. So they all touch us in some way. But I started to realize that a lot of the pieces didn't fit together properly. I started to realize that a lot of the pieces didn't fit together properly. And yeah, you know me, I like to ask questions, and I like to, and I'm like, because my situation was this. I understand this behavior, but I don't understand this behavior. I understand this action, but I don't understand that action. Why are there two different sets of information, one of which appears completely logical and another of which appears completely illogical? Well, the answer to that is schizophrenia, or a form of multiple personality disorder, where you can spend a day doing things that are perfectly logical and that make perfect sense and are very practical. But then the next day, you spend that day doing the opposite, almost as if you are a different person. And so this is the dilemma that I have been having personally, is trying to understand who you are talking to is a very deep and complex subject. For example, if I am talking to you, the response or the reaction that I get from you, it might be you. It might be something that you have seen or heard somewhere else. It might have been the reaction of a friend. It might be the opinions of your mother or your father or your friendship circle. And this is a language dichotomy where if the question and the answer don't fit together, then it's not the same conversation that you're having. So if you can have two entirely different conversations with the same person, then it's not the same person. Really.
What is it?
Yeah. And I don't mean it's not the same person in the sense that, you can talk to one person about a variety of different topics. Yeah, okay, that's fine. But we're not talking about a variety of different topics. We're talking about two different sets of logic here. Because logic and what is practical is what is under the good choices that we make. If things are logical, then we don't have to worry about the result, because the result will be practical. But if things are not logical, in the sense of being dangerous, then
Mm.
the results will be dangerous actions lead to dangerous results,
Yes.
naturally. So
Mm.
so my puzzle for the last 2 or 3 weeks is, who am I talking to? Right?
Mm.
Who am I talking to when the let me give you an abstract
Mm.
example, but you work it out. Let's say I ask you a question about football, right? Let's say I ask you, like, what's your favorite football team? And you
Mhm.
say um, I like to eat tomatoes, right?
Mhm.
Well, there's two different things going on there. Now that's an extreme example, but
Yeah, yeah, yes, I understand.
but more accurate versions of that happen in normal everyday conversation, where my response is, I'm not talking about vegetables. I never mentioned vegetables. Vegetables are not part of what I would like to talk about.
Yes.
Um,
Mm.
so this leads me to
Mm.
try to understand what is happening when a person has
Mm.
a more extreme form of multiple personality disorder caused by some kind or some level of trauma at some point in time in the past, uh,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
causing a split, a kind of what
Mm.
we call arrested development, where you don't continue to learn in the normal process,
Mm.
but you a normal logical process is replaced by what you just have to do to survive, which is not
Yes.
really a very positive environment to live within. So, uh, and it's naturally it's hard to diagnose. Right? How do you diagnose that, right?
Mm.
Um, because people can have bad days, right? Oh, I'm just having a bad
Yes.
day. Oh, okay.
1 day, 2 days,
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
but not
Yes, yeah,
all the time.
yeah, 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 yeah. So you understand perfectly. We can all have short periods of time where things are not good or we make mistakes or whatever. But the problem occurs when this becomes a lifestyle or a life habit. And it also becomes a problem when this is supported by networks of people around about as well, who don't
Mm.
look at both sides and who don't have all of the information available to them. So
Mm.
it's a bit like it's a bit like watching a football match, and 11
Mm.
players on one team are visible and 11 players on the other team are invisible. You can't,
Mhm.
and then trying to talk about the game, right? You can't talk about the game if you don't have all the information.
Yes, yes.
You can't talk about the game if you only have one set of details from one side. In fact, you don't care, right? It's a sign that you don't care. Um, the only way to make a real objective and true judgment on anything is to analyze as many different sides of a topic as possible. And I always use the example of the the Rubik's Cube.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's the example I always use. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's a great
yeah.
example for this, where where we can see that one side is blue. But when we look around it, there are many different things happening on many of the other sides, and we don't get the full picture, and we can't solve the puzzle until we understand from all the different sides how everything is connected together. Professor Rubric was a genius. If he's still alive, maybe he is a genius. So that is vital in making correct judgments. Yeah, because there are many aspects and many kinds of problems. So how do you know if somebody doesn't care? Somebody doesn't care if they don't study both sides in detail. That's when somebody doesn't care. If you study, if you look at only half the ingredients for your cake and you don't care about the other half, then you're going to have a really bad cake. You're not going to be able to objectively, make all the correct decisions there. And very few people are actually prepared to spend a little bit, and this is myself included, because it takes time and a lot of energy to get into other people's problems. We've all got our own problems. Yeah. And so in order to make the correct objective judgment about any situation, you need to be, like in a court of law, a judge who spends time listening to both sides and giving both sides the opportunity to comment and feedback. Because as I know about myself, there are things that I have got wrong and there are mistakes that I have made. And a lot of this is pointed out by other people, because we're all so busy doing our own thing that maybe we don't realize or recognize something, and somebody points it out and it's like, yes, you're right about that. I gotta pay a bit more attention to that. And good people listen to good people, and that's the way things should be. So most people don't invest any time or any effort or any energy in studying the other side. They don't.
Why?
Yeah, and this is this is simple human nature. Those who love the politics on the left hate the politics on the right, and vice versa. And those who love this sport probably hate that sport, and those who love this team don't like that team. And it's a world of a lot of extremes, where everyone has said you have to choose a side, you have to pick a side, and there's a lot of truth in that in our individual choices in daily life. But we can't. If we look at a more global picture right now, like I'm also trying to study global elements of politics and understand them, and it's made complicated by the fact there are huge international groups that are very, very powerful and very, very tightly controlled, and they manage a lot of things that are happening. And on the other side, there are individuals within those organizations, some of whom are very good and some of whom are not. And so in that kind of scenario with human beings, things change all the time, and you need to constantly study and constantly refresh the information in your head, because like worldwide politically, we're living in a situation where things are changing every 24 hours right now. Every 24 hours, it's
Mm.
like somebody's shaking everything up.
Yeah.
And you know what any politician says on Monday, you know,
Mm.
by Wednesday,
Yeah.
it's the complete opposite. This is happening across the world. This is happening
Mhm.
across the world. So um, so it takes time to learn and study and understand these things. And I know that people don't care when they don't ask. It's that simple, really, right?
Mhm.
Like if I see you, I ask you, you know, how are you? How's it going? You know, because I care. Like I was in a local shop here today, and I was talking to the shopkeeper about the fact that
Mm.
it's good to have little conversations because it shows that you care about people and the community, and it's a nice thing. Um, so so I know people don't care when they don't inquire, when they don't ask.
Mhm.
Um, and so there's a lot of people with a lot of opinions who have
Yeah.
never asked any questions,
Yes.
right?
Mm.
So imagine you wanted imagine you wanted to write a book about something,
Mm.
and you interviewed only one person to write the book.
Mm.
You would not have the full picture. You would not have the full
Mhm.
picture, all the story,
Mhm.
the the dynamics, the what is true, the what is not true, the half truths. Uh, um, there are a million reasons why a person crosses a road. There are a million reasons.
Mm. Mm.
If John says, "Oh, he crossed the road because he
Mhm.
wanted to get to the other side," maybe that's true. Maybe that's not. Maybe there's another reason. Maybe the person doesn't know why they crossed the road. Maybe they just wanted to cross the road, right? I mean,
Mm.
until you spend time examining the data, you you don't understand. And then if you begin to support people, you begin to contribute to the bigger picture of things. And the bigger picture is what I have always called the narrative or the story. And the story, like a tree, has many branches, and each branch is a different aspect, a different part, maybe a different person speaking, and so on. And they help to build up the whole picture. Um, and there's a lot of, or most people are just, they're not really interested that much. They're not really interested that much in what is true. Most people are just invested in uh, the surface of things, I guess, the surface of things. They don't go deep into the topics. They just they just accept something and do nothing with that, and that's okay. That's their choice. It's a free world, right? It's a free world. But if if someone is a criminal and they're your friend, well, there's a little bit of a problem there. There's a little bit of a moral dilemma in that situation if you have a friend who is a criminal. Yeah, so it's a moral question. Yeah, it's a moral question. If you, okay, it's obviously good to have friends, right? It's better to have good friends. But so if you have a friend and your friend is a criminal, that creates a moral problem. Because by having a criminal who's a friend, by having a friend and supporting them, you really support their criminal behavior. Now, where do you go from there? What do you do after that? Because um, you have to make a decision whether or not it is important to you that this person is a criminal or not. And then I don't talk about the fact we don't know. I mean, there are people who we know are bad people, right? There are people who we know are criminals. And if we associate with those kinds of people, if we make society with those kinds of people, if we are friends with those kinds of people, then it's not good for the world, basically. It's not good for society. We have to we have to we have to alienate these people to the extent where we say we don't want these people in our communities. And it's sorry to say, but these are our standards and these are our rules and this is what we live by. And this, oh, we're all inclusive and we accept everyone and everything is, as I've always said, everything is nothing because it's so big that you don't know where to start. Yeah. So when people say, "Oh, I accept everything," it's like, well, no, we all have things that we like and we don't like. So just as we have music that we like and we don't like, and foods that we like and we don't like, we all have things that we like and we don't like. We have to learn to accept those differences as things that are natural and not force elements onto other people. Another problem is the problem of projection, which is understanding if a person is doing what they say they are doing, or if a person is saying something and doing something different. And I don't mean in terms of being a hypocrite. I mean this in terms of being accurate about what is happening. Simple example. If I say I am not holding a pen, but you see me hold a pen, but I say to you, but I'm not. Look, I'm not. I'm honestly not holding a pen. I'm not. And this happens a lot with things like aggression and violence. Yeah, with a person saying, "I'm not forcing you to do it." But wait. But wait, you. So there's a question about force and pressure. It's like, I'm not forcing you. But if you put pressure on a person to do something, you are forcing them. It's not free choice if you know that another person wants something different.
I understand everything. Yeah, I understand.
It's not free choice at all. And so a lot of people will say, I'm not doing this. But if you look at what it is in fact that they're doing, they are doing it. Yeah. And you know the classic example is I'm not doing this for myself. It's like, really? Really? Because I know whenever I do something, there's an element of myself within that. There's an element of myself. And if I find myself in a situation where I'm doing something that I don't like, then I have to wonder and question about why am I doing something that I don't like, right? Is it, is it this
Mm.
complete virtue of wanting to help other people, or is it the knowledge that this that because I've done this, there something will come back to me, some kind of reciprocation or something like that. It's complex. It's really complex
Mm.
psychologically. Um, but it still creates this problem in that everything that a person does applies some level of force or some level of pressure into and on the world around about them.
Mm.
Everything. Every time we choose to eat something, yeah, we put some pressure on our body, yeah. Every
Okay.
time we get in our car and drive somewhere, there's some pressure on the environment. So there's always some level of pressure. So it's very interesting for me to hear people say, I'm not pressuring you, I'm not forcing you.
Mhm.
But the only real way to do that is to go to the other person and say, what can I do for you? Without expecting
Mhm. Mhm.
anything specific in return. The only real way to try to avoid the pressure and the force is to go to another person and to say, how
Mm.
can I help you? Because as good as we are connected, we really can't read all the other person's thoughts. So
Mm.
maybe it might be something very simple, like you want a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or something very simple. So
Mm.
I can say to you, um, what can I do for you? You know, what can I do for you? What do you need? How can I help you? Yeah, and
What
that
can
that
I what can I do for you?
be yourself, right? Be yourself. That's
Yeah.
of course the best way to help people is to be yourself. So
Mm.
so that everybody knows
Mm.
who you are and where they are. Um,
Yeah.
and so that's the only that's the real way to begin with communication. You can offer someone something and they can say to you, what do you want?
Mm.
And you can say in
Mm.
return, I'm just being friendly, I'm just being nice because it's what nice people do. They try to help out, yeah. Um, and nice people have a care and an interest in
Mhm.
whether or not other people are happy.
Yeah.
They do. And that connects again to this. People never explore the whole topic. They only ever look at one side of things. And they don't, and they will do whatever they want to do, and that's fine without any care or thought about what's happening on the other side. And
Mm.
they can be making things much more complicated. If you support one side without studying the other side, and it's very easy to understand in a political context, if you support the left without understanding the right, then you're an idiot. And if you support the right without understanding the arguments of the left, you're also an idiot because you haven't looked at the bigger picture about what makes sense from your own experiences. And this, of course, is made more complicated
Mm.
by the way that a lot of people interact with each other, where they're not as open as they should be, or there's missing pieces of the puzzle.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so right now there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that are just not there
Mm.
because of this lack of communication. And my aim is to seek the truth, whatever it is. To not seek an answer which is positive specifically just for me, but to seek the truth, whatever it is. You know, like the scientist searching for the cancer or something.
Mm.
Yeah, it's you you have to look for what is there, right? You have to seek the truth, and most people are running away from the truth
Mm.
and escape and not communicating and closing down conversations is all running away from the truth.